The Alpha Legion have really been in the spotlight in Warhammer lore lately, and I have several hopes and predictions about the upcoming book Ghost Legion by Mike Brooks, the follow-up to the absolutely awesome novel Renegades, Harrowmaster. Solomon Akurra has risen in power in the time since the Harrowmaster book came out, and he has indeed completed the Pale Spear, reuniting the haft with the blade, and in doing so, has solidified his place as a true contender in the great game that is the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war. The Harrowmaster now wields a symbol of power, an ancient relic of the Legion's Primarch Alpharius. But most people didn't notice the story The Long Promise, where Akurra obtains the haft of the spear. It was an amazing short story, but it will probably have to be referenced in Ghost Legion for context, as it went mostly under the radar. Thus, most fans aren't even aware that Solomon Akurra has indeed acquired both pieces of Alpharius' weapon, just like the Alpha Legion, getting the job done in secret. The focus in the lore where the Alpha Legion is concerned has mostly been on the Horus Heresy and the Scouring eras lately, so it will be nice to get back to the current Warhammer 40k timeline. In this video, I'll go over all my hopes, predictions, and a conspiracy theory about what's happening. But first, let's look at the description of the upcoming novel and see what it reveals about the plot of the story. Alpha Legion warlord Solomon Akurra returns in the follow-up to Renegades, Harrowmaster, as his ambitions grow ever greater following the unification of many feuding warbands and the conquering of entire star systems. Now he sets his sights on his grand plan, to shatter the Imperium and rebuild a stronger humanity from its pieces. But power such as Akurra's attracts many enemies, and the God Emperor's servants are ready to make their counterattack. So, from when they first announced the novel on the Warhammer community website, trouble is brewing for the vicious Harrowmaster Solomon Akurra in Ghost Legion by Mike Brooks. Despite uniting scores of Alpha Legion warbands and conquering a vast domain, Akurra has bigger dreams and seeks to take on the Imperium as a whole with the weapon of his Primarch, the Pale Spear, in hand. Or at least, what he claims to be the Pale Spear. Predictably, such success attracts attention, and the Imperium isn't planning on taking Solomon's challenge lying down. A vast assault force and scores of Imperial assassins are coming for his head, and the Harrowmaster's skills are about to be tested to the limit if he's to hold on to the tenuous success that keeps him at the top of the pile. He's prepared to play the long game. But are his warriors? Well, that certainly sounds fun. So, who in the Imperium dispatches assassins to get him? Very interesting indeed. But it sounds like as much as Solomon Akurra has built an incredible amount of power rather quickly, his biggest weakness may just be how mercurial his legion is, which would be appropriate. With that said, let's get into my hopes and predictions. We'll start with hopes. I hope that Alpharius appears in the story, in a more overt way than last time. While I'm fairly sure that when the leader of the Faceless used the name Alpharius in the previous book, Harrowmaster, he was telling the truth, or as close to the truth as could be. I personally don't see Alpharius as dead, though Dorn certainly did kill him. I see Omegon as dead, as the moment Alpharius died, Omegon is the one who ceased to be, as he became forevermore Alpharius, by both name and rank essentially, and probably never even used the name Omegon again. Either way, when the meeting of the warbands, the harrowing, happened in Harrowmaster, when the Faceless arrived and their leader introduced himself as Alpharius, I knew it was the real deal. That it was actually one of the Hydras, even if the legionnaires around him didn't even realize it. The Faceless are one of the funnest of the Alpha Legion warbands because they're just straight up secrecy. But still, they showed up for Akurra's meeting. Next, I hope that Akurra comes to understand the Pale Spear's nature and respects it eventually, as he doesn't even really believe that it is the real Pale Spear, though we know as readers that it is. Well, it's more like he doesn't even care. It's just a symbol to him. The truth is not important. It allows him to wield power and garners respect and admiration from his warriors. But to Akurra, he doesn't give much thought to it either way. He's so practical, it's just a tool to him. And I would love for him to have to find some kind of faith in it, or have his come to Alpharius moment, and have to go there, to buy into his own propaganda in order to prevail. or even to survive. That would be awesome. Next, I hope that Akurra allies with another powerful Chaos Warlord like Abaddon or Huron. I'm sick of the Chaos Lords always fighting with one another, and it would be cool if Akurra has to make some friends to weather the storm that's coming. Kravik Morn and his Iron Warriors would make a great ally, and it would be a great way to get some Vashtor action in too. Or if he has some Night Lords allies, that would do it for me as well. We can't expect the Alpha Legion to go from 1,000 disparate, unrelated warbands hiding in the shadows to a unified, overt threat without securing some friendships with other warbands, legions, Chaos Lords, or even Primarchs. They are, after all, unifying again as a legion for one purpose: survival. Strength in numbers. That means they'll want friends, but my hope is that they stay on the Chaos spectrum and don't get Imperial backup. Next, I hope that Akurra becomes corrupted by Chaos and has to make a deal a la Blackheart or Abaddon. He's got one foot in the warp already with his demonically possessed bionic arm. I hope he gets more and more corrupted and becomes a true Chaos Space Marine instead of simply a renegade. He seems to hate the Imperium more than he hates Chaos already, but Akurra is a very practical guy, and does seem to understand that he can use both as tools when they suit his purpose. Before my number one hope, here's an honorable mention. I hope there's no Ultramarines in this story, like at all. No successor chapters, no Gilliman or Titus or any toilet smurfs at all in this tale. I'd love to see no loyalist Space Marines, honestly. Imperial Guard, Inquisitorial Forces, Assassins, that would all be fun, and sure, it would be cool either way. I really doubt that they won't have Imperial Space Marines as adversaries at some point in the story. I just hope they don't. Especially the Ultras. Okay, finally my number one hope is that Omegon is back and it was actually Occam the whole time. If you've seen my video on Occam the Untrue and or read Sons of the Hydra, you may have picked up on the same clues that I did, and even the name Occam is one of them. But to me, he's obviously Omegon and doesn't know it, suffering amnesia or some other type of brain wipe. But he's on another level and doesn't understand why. I may be wrong, but I'd love to be right on this one, and for it to be confirmed in Ghost Legion. I mean, Huron Blackheart in his novel, Master of the Maelstrom, recently, openly said that he's read reports that confirm Alpharius is alive and operating throughout the galaxy. So we know that is Alpharius Omegon rather than Alpharius Alpharion, as I call him, but Alpharius nonetheless. Interestingly enough, he also brought up the Ultramarines believing they killed Alpharius at Escrador, which isn't the only recent mention of Escrador in the lore. Another topic I have a video on, from the Index Astartes in a 2003 White Dwarf. The story was told from the perspective of an Inquisitor who turned out to be an Alpha Legion agent, probably, and was burned at the stake for heresy, definitely, and the tale is widely regarded as misinformation. I never bought into the whole Escrador thing myself, but apparently the Ultramarines really do, or so Huron believes. Funny that nobody ever asks Imperial Regent Rabute Gilliman about it. So those are my hopes. Also, 500 years before the current timeline, in a place called Queen Mab, Alpharius was revealed to be working alongside Lord Inquisitor Gregor Eisenhorn. He's around, just as much as Perturabo or Lorgar. Alpharius keeps getting mentioned more and more. Even if he really is Omegon, there's literally no difference now, effectively. So my hopes about this, I'm at least trying to keep grounded in possibility. I'm not over here hoping Akurra suplexes the Silent King off the top rope with a perfectly executed Judy Chop as a lethal follow-up, but just that my favorite Primarch or his twin brother shows back up. I mean, stranger things have happened, and we are in the golden age of Primarch returns after all. Now let's get on to not what I hope will happen, but what I predict will happen, despite how I may or may not feel about it. I expect my expectations to be subverted. There's no simpler way to say it, but yeah, that's my expectation. Since it is Alpha Legion, and since Mike Brooks is amazing and is a master storyteller, I do think that there will be a rug pull and will be led one direction while we should be looking another. This is standard fare for Alpha Legion books, so I actually expect Ghost Legion to be the same. I expect Akurra will be set up as the next in a growing line of powerful Chaos Lords. We're going to see Solomon raise up and get a new model and probably a retinue as we saw with Huron. Iron Warrior's got a beautiful new Warsmith, and I feel the Alpha Legion will get a new Harrowmaster mini. And Solomon Akurra will be treated as the leader of a faction, not a subordinate going forward in the lore. Each of the Chaos sub-factions is getting treated like a full-on faction of its own, distinct unto itself, like the Emperor's Children and Iron Warriors. I expect Alpha Legion, Night Lords, and Wordbearers to get the same treatment eventually. Why wouldn't they? They need a figurehead. A Harrowmaster. Akurra is being set up in the lore to be a contender in the Great Game, and I think we'll see an Alpha Legion list independent of the Chaos Space Marines Codex eventually. Next, I expect the Pale Spear to hold abilities that nobody saw coming. It is an ancient Xenos relic, ostensibly Necron or even possibly Necrontyr in origin, and it was used by Alpharius and Omegon themselves. It is a symbol of the Legion and how it was shattered but endured and has come back together. But it could hold eldritch, insane powers. Who knows? I do predict that we'll learn more about it and that it can do things we just did not see coming. Then I expect Solomon Akurra will be forced to make a pact with Chaos to prevail. He'll be on the back foot, facing some insane threat that is about to end him, or he can make a deal with Chaos and get warp juiced and prevail. That's a typical trope for a Chaos Lord on the rise. And he's a renegade who doesn't really like Chaos too much, but has a demon-possessed bionic arm, so he's already had his feet on the path to damnation for quite a while. I expect him to tread much further down that road, but not necessarily realize that is what is happening until it is too late. He's between a rock and a hard place and has to make a deal. Okay, so next I expect that Alpharius will be behind whatever shenanigans are being got up to in this story. Whatever strings are being pulled, whoever is getting played, Alpharius or Omegon, however you want to see it, the Hydra, will be the puppet master. The conductor that is making everyone dance. Like the King in Yellow in the Eisenhorn, Ravener, Beckwin series, he's operating behind the scenes and whatever is playing out in the story is all according to his plan. It may be that Akurra is a proxy, a cutout that Alpharius uses to wield power and quite literally the Pale Spear, and the Harrowmaster doesn't even know it. That would be an Alpharius move and is definitely a possibility. Lastly, I expect that the Alpha Legion doesn't quite fully unify, but they do become a significant threat and are now on Imperial radar to stay. And in forging such a solid unified force, Akurra loses his anonymity and advantage in that. He's operating out of the shadows right now, an unknown that nobody's really heard of. But once he builds the 20th Legion back to strength and unifies the disparate warbands, he'll be considered a massive threat and will no longer be an anonymous force, but a hunted, wanted man. And since he's been messing with the Inquisition lately, see again the short story The Long Promise, and he took the shaft of the Pale Spear from us recently, we should be first and foremost among those who are hunting the heretic son of Alpharius. And now we come to my conspiracy theory that I think this book will dive into. I think we'll get proof here that Death Row is Alpharius Omegon in more than just name, and confirmation that he was not only helping Eisenhorn, and is a loyalist ultimately, but that he's still alive in the current timeline 500 years after the events of the upcoming novel Pandemonium. Events that we will see leave him with amnesia of some sort, and which lead Alpharius Omegon to become Occam the Untrue. That's what I think, as that is what I would reveal were I to write this book. But let me know what you think in the comments. What characters we will see in Ghost Legion? What secrets of the Hydra will be revealed? And why are Alpha Legion books always so fun to read?